2020 is finally over. This was definitely a year that happened. It happened. It's gonna be in the history books, and it's all America's fault, you fuckheads. But despite everything, at least we got some good movies. Yes, good 2020 movies exist. I am so freaking sick of people going like, this is the worst years for movies ever. Yeah, you'll say that if you didn't even fucking try to see anything. You only said that this year is shit because you made the choice to only watch shit and ignore movies that weren't shit. What, so Indian movies and documentaries just don't exist? Yeah, okay. Why don't you just watch Sonic the Hedgehog again, the true year-defining film?
Pending background check. Pause in the air.
Meow?
Just saying, it was all in your face. You just refused to give it a chance. If you walk away and claim shit without looking around seeing anything, then you clearly don't love movies as much as you say you do. With my rant out of the way, here are my honorable mentions.
Release the brainstorm to make your motherfucking brain warm. A strange form, something kind of lyrical. Biggie the bastard, so that's kind of spiritual. Well, in God we trust, guns are bust, got that disgusting suicide thumping. And do you know where you're going to? Do you like the things that I bring? I got 7 Mac 11s, about 8 38s, 9 9s, 10 Mac 10s. The shit's never end. You can't touch my riches, even if you had MC Hammer and them 357 bitches. Biggie Smalls, the millionaire, the mansion, the yacht, the 2 weed spots, the 2 hot clocks. That's how I got the weed spot. I shot Tread in the head, took the bread.
The quiet and haunting nature of The Assistant is quite frankly something I'll never forget. The story is simple. A young woman fresh out of college deals with being an assistant for a Hollywood studio, but it's really about sexual assault and harassment in the movie industry and how it's treated. We don't see assault or harassment, but we get a sense that it has happened multiple times, and for that the film feels very uncomfortable. There's no music and no emotion throughout the whole thing, but it's never in a sense where the film's message becomes unclear. In fact, it adds to it. It's to show that survivors of this kind of abuse start to feel voiceless and emotionally hollow. Even when she feels the need to confront, she gets shut down simply because she's not a higher up. She's just an assistant. It's such an amazing take on sexual assault and harassment in the film industry, and there's clearly no other film like this, and there's no other actress like Julia Garner. Her performance is so reserved, yet she manages to say so much and convey so much. I haven't seen a performance that impactful in a long time. I know people want me to put this higher on the list, but just be happy that it's on the list anyway, alright? I think the best way to describe Soul, especially from an animation standpoint, would be transcendent. I'm not joking when I say this, but I think this is the best animation I've ever seen in a Pixar film. Not only is the attention to detail pretty flooring to me, and the afterlife aspect has some of the coolest character designs I've ever seen, but in a sense I felt this weird sense of nostalgia watching this. The film as a whole is about life and how you should live every day like it's your last, and appreciate the little things, and I found a lot of myself in the character of Joe Gardner. The way Joe talks about jazz is how I talk to others about what I'm passionate about. The way he talks to his friends and family is how I've spoken to my friends and family at times as well. It's not afraid to leave out the sad moments of life, the ecstatic moments, the biggest failures. Showing us all that life wouldn't be fulfilling without any of that. And when I heard that final line, I knew I was watching something special. Yep, I truly believe this is the best animated film of the year and of the past few years. Why? Well, first of all, I mean, look at this. Look at all this beautiful 2D animation. You thought Soul had great attention to detail? The detail in this is just as good, if not better. There's always something going on in every single frame that you might miss something if you're not paying attention. But even then, there's always something amazing that will never fail to get your attention. This is a story we've seen before, but I don't think it's been as engaging as this. These characters and their chemistry with one another is written wonderfully. These adventures they go on and situations that they're in is so bizarre, but so captivating. Only the wonders of animation can pull off something like this. and the Irish setting is honestly for me the glue that holds everything together. Listen to this music, look at the scenery, it bleeds the Irish culture. Oh, Wolfwalkers is so good, my words can't do it justice, you just have to see it. I reviewed this on my channel, so if you want to watch it, please do, but I was surprised by how much I was engaged by this. Not only does the one continuous shot thing for every scene work extremely well here, it's so well choreographed, but the characters of Kyle and Mike and their chemistry makes this so special. Their development is perfect. They're both equally flawed individuals, but I see a lot of myself in these characters and I understood their situations like no other. The Climb tells the story of a friendship in a way that feels hopeless on the surface, but you can truly see the love and care that these two characters have for each other, like how you realize how frustrating your friend can be, but deep down you still truly care about them. That's something anyone can relate to, and how it all develops feels weirdly satisfying and wholesome at the end of the day. One of my favorite movie moments of the year is the scene of Kyle and Mike walking on a snowy landscape outside of an igloo, and Mike starts monologuing. I believe what he says there kind of sums up the movie perfectly. Please check this one out. I love Miranda July. I love her goofy style, and I love her clear love for humans. I talked about this in What I Watched in September video, so I'll just repeat it. Gajillionaire is so unapologetically goofy in its presentation, but manages to maintain a compelling story all the way through. You've seen movies about parents training their kids to live how they live, but not in this fashion. The film very rarely takes itself seriously, but at the same time I found a lot of reasons to care about these characters, except for Jenkins and Winner of course, and wanted nothing but the best for the main character. It's as though I felt a great connection towards them. You need to go in knowing this is a comedy though. Some scenes might trick you into taking it seriously, but when you piece together what's actually going on, and the fact that Evan Rachel Wood is talking like this,
Hun, you've never called me that,
then the film becomes much more enjoyable. Evan Rachel Wood gives one of my favorite performances of the year, and Emile Mosseri's score is one of my favorites of the year. Yes, Lovers Rock is my favorite of the Steve McQueen Small Axe films. This thing kinda blew me away. This might not make sense, but even though the energy is pretty much non-existent, I still felt the adrenaline. That's the beauty of McQueen. He's able to give you a physical reaction out of anything. This time it's something so trivial like a party. He throws you into this party and just lets you explore the area and lets you get to know everyone, and that's because McQueen can move a camera like no other. You follow one person at one point, and then out of the blue you'll follow someone else, and it all feels seamless and purposeful. The use of orange, my favorite color, that gives the film such a cool and loving atmosphere, the music that gives the film its beating heart, it all threw me right into this party. I felt so close with everyone. I don't know them, but damn, I love them all, and I want to continue hanging out with them. I miss parties, man. I don't care what you say, what you think of me. Yes God Yes is this high up on the list. The more I think about it, the more I absolutely love it. In fact, going even further, I think this is one of my new favorite comedies. Yes God Yes knows exactly what it is, and it embraces its absurdity all the while never losing its focus. This isn't absurd for the sake of being absurd. Instead, it uses its weird premise to provide a really great and funny commentary about rebellion, sexual confusion, religion, corruption of the school system, etc. And the film takes a show don't tell kind of route as a way to tell this story and present these jokes, and it felt like they made sure that nothing would feel out of place. It feels like everything has a purpose being there. Every time I've watched this, I've seen it multiple times by now, I always notice something new, and given the film's very short runtime, that's pretty impressive. Whether it be a visual joke or a throwback to something earlier in the movie, that only proves that this is such a unique presentation of this story. There is no reason why this should work as well as it does. But Karen Maine does a wonderful job directing this, and Natalia Dyer is a queen. Also, I should reiterate, one of the funniest movies I've seen in the past couple years, and probably one of my new favorite comedies. this has become a movie I throw on if I need to make myself feel good. I know I gave this movie a 4 when I reviewed it, but I've seen it more times since and I grew to love it way more. As someone who is partially deaf, my left ear is weaker than my right, this movie cuts deep for me. Sound of Metal feels like a love letter to the deaf community. The film, with its sound design, use of subtitles, use of actual deaf people to teach someone who's new to the community how to adapt to a new world, feels like not only a way of support, but a way to teach those who might not fully understand. And not only does it feel like a love letter to that community, it's a story all about acceptance. Accepting a whole new world, accepting a permanent change in someone you know and love, accepting the other people in that community. The first time watching, the only issues I had were just pacing, but rewatching the film, I noticed that the length started to not really bother me anymore. I really liked the film before, but a rewatch got me way more engaged and way more emotional, like I was being spoken to. This film just gets it right, and I went from not really considering it one of my favorite movies of the year to considering it one of my favorite movies of the year. This probably has my favorite final shot of the year too. I'm actually envious of it. I wish I could pull off a shot as powerful as that.
I was busy thinking about boys.
This movie gave me a roundhouse kick to my feminist lawns because that's how much I screamed. I can't even begin to tell you how entertained, uncomfortable, and satisfied I was watching this film. I won't spend too much time on it right now because it's only doing theater runs right now, and I know some people aren't going to theaters, and I do not want to give much away. It's best to go in completely cold. Promising Young Woman hits you with a lot. It hits you with cold hard truths, it hits you with unexpected twists and turns, but God, it's so engaging. Carey Mulligan's character is so well written. I haven't seen a character like this in most movies. She's a sociopathic, traumatized lowlife of a woman, but she's clever, she's funny, she's sympathetic, and it never, ever feels out of place. I don't know how they pulled that off. You really love watching her every time she's on screen. But what I love most about it is that it's hugely unpredictable. And that's because every scene is so perfectly developed. It will start a scene as normal as it possibly can, and then hit you right in the face with the payoff. And that's especially prominent in the breathtaking final 15 minutes. I'm ending a review here, but this movie kicked my ass and it was the best beating I've ever gotten. Men are garbage. I conflicted on putting either Promising Young Woman or this one on the number 6 spot, but I think I like First Cow just a little bit more. Kelly Reichardt is top 5 favorite directors for me, and her teaming up with A24 seemed like a match made in heaven, and it was. I was lucky enough to catch this in the theater before they closed back in March, and seeing it on a big screen felt so rewarding and peaceful, because immediately when you hear that guitar score, it puts you right into that atmosphere. And I'm not saying it doesn't do that on home video, but First Cow I think is best viewed in a dark room with pure silence. The pure silence and calming nature of the film, of all honesty, made this one of the least boring movies I've seen this year. The movie gives you enough time to care for these characters and get settled into this atmosphere, and once you're in, you're in. Kelly Reichardt has always been so good at putting you in the psychological perspective of not just her characters, but her setting. All of her movies feel like a love letter to nature, and First Cow I think is most prominent of that. In every frame, it seems like she's presenting every ounce of nature as the most beautiful landscape you can look at. You grow an attachment to it, just like you grow an attachment to these characters. I'm not trying to go too much into a tangent, so I'll just say it's one of the most genuinely kind movies of the year. This movie. This fucking movie. Okay, you know how Uncut Gems was stressful because Howard kept making the worst decisions he could make, and you knew he was just gonna dig himself in a deeper hole because he was genuinely a sick man? Shiva Baby is more stressful than Uncut Gems. Yes, I said that. Because everyone around the main character is throwing her into the bad situations against her own will. She has no choice. She's in a small house with a ton of people with no way back home except her parents who are too busy socializing with others. This movie throws you into the insanity and does not care who you are. It will pick you up over its head, throw you into the chaos, lock you in it, and throw away the key. I'm pretty positive this movie would also blow cocaine in my face if it wanted to as a final touch. And you know what? I probably deserved it because we were in the presence of queens. Emma Slickman is the writer and director to look out for. This is one hell of a directorial debut. She balances the comedy, anxiety, and sensitivity of this subject matter perfectly. She builds tension in a way that's so unique it kept my attention every single time. And if you're not paying attention, you may miss something. I can't wait to see her career explode, and I'll gladly support everything that she does. And I'll gladly support everything Rachel Sonnet does and everything. She gives one of my absolute favorite performances of the year. I won't spoil what or how much exactly happens that makes it so anxiety-inducing, because honestly, I didn't know where this was gonna go. But every minute the main character is constantly put on edge, and the pressure just keeps building and never stops. The haunting musical score plays along with the intensity. It's absolutely chaotic, and it's all done so well. The comedy here also works so well. Holy shit, this movie is so funny. The comedy is played in such a subtle way. With a film like this that's trying to raise some anxiety, the comedy really wouldn't work. But in this movie, every joke felt so in place and in character. Best screenplay of the year. Catch me watching this a million times. I said this in the video I made about this movie, but never, rarely, sometimes, always feels like a support system. It's a movie that exists to give a voice to those who had their voice taken away, showing them that even if everything looks bleak, you still have that support in your life. And it shows that by literally putting us into perspective of our main character, Autumn. Everything seems silent, everyone except for a select few people seem awful. The view of the world seems tiresome and almost dreamlike, and it never loses that perspective. But by the time the film ends, you feel the support the film is trying to give to you. Because silence is sometimes the loudest, most powerful tool. Silence can be used to make you experience what these characters experience. But most importantly, support is the most cathartic, heartwarming endeavor one can do for someone. That's this movie. A movie that's calm and quiet on the surface, but deep down it's loud, angry, and powerful. A movie that's both angry at the current behavior of our society, yet so supportive of the survivors who went through it. A movie that's not afraid to show you in great detail the process of what these survivors have to go through and the mental trauma it causes. It's a hard, painfully emotional watch sometimes, but it has to be. If it wasn't, then it wouldn't be honest. I applaud a lot of that authenticity, not only to director Eliza Hittman, but to these performances as well. Sydney Flanagan and Talia Ryder have terrific chemistry with each other, and play off each other perfectly. But Flanagan especially gave one of my top 3 performances of the year. This is a film I'll never forget, and I'll support everything that these people do for the rest of my life. I know this placement might seem weird, but this is my list, I don't care. This is one of my most rewatched movies of the year, and probably will be for years to come. I really don't think I related to a movie more than this one. And I see myself a lot in the character of Alex. The constant calling your parents and the immediate crying afterwards. The roommate that just doesn't give a shit even though you try really hard to connect with them. The immediate impulsive thought of transferring schools. The really long night you spend with someone you think is special and are sure that you're gonna start something with them, but they end up leading you on and shutting you out, and the pain that you feel after that. In my opinion, it was all portrayed so wonderfully and insanely authentically. Most people who know me know that my time in college was a pretty dark time in my life. I would say darker than what was portrayed in the movie, but the movie captured that depression and anxiety I felt throughout most of it beautifully. It captured that elated feeling I felt whenever I spent time with someone special, whether I was dating them or not, beautifully. And it's performed beautifully by Cooper Raiff and Dylan Galula. I hope I said that right. Like Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, this kind of felt like a support system. Like you're walking with one of your best friends or maybe a family member and just venting, and then you get into aspects of that conversation where you're just reminded why that person means so much to you in the first place. Shithouse reminded me why I truly love my friends from college, and reminded me that college was a time where I truly found myself. It may have flaws, but this will forever be special to me, and I wish I could watch it for the first time all over again. From the opening scene of Minari, I was given a taste of how personal this story was to director Lee Isaac Chung. You immediately understand the family's relationship with each other, and not only that, you start to understand their emotional connection to the United States, the themes of the American dream, and how they learn to adapt to the country, and they show that not just by having them connect with other humans, but by making the most trivial of things in their area stand out. The film as a whole, I believe, is a commentary on how simplistic and beautiful life and adapting to a whole new environment really is. It's as simplistic as pursuing your dream in another country while keeping your family life intact. It's as simple as showcasing the relationship with someone you're closest to. It's as simple as bringing a sense of your culture to share with another culture. But the film also realizes that it's not always as simplistic, and that might be my favorite aspect of it. No matter what, conflict will happen, no matter where you are, and it'll maybe affect the dreams and aspirations you have. It's films like Minari that reminded me of why I love slice-of-life movies. Minari showcases the American dream and adaptation in a way that feels so obviously personal and passionate, and that's what makes it special. And that's what makes Lee Isaac Chung a director to look out for, and that's what makes every single performance stand out. Stephen Yeun in particular standing out the most. And that's what makes Emile Mosseri's score quite possibly my favorite score of the year. I don't know, it's neck and neck with Emma on that regard. But my final point is that Minari is true beauty, and it definitely shouldn't be missed. Nomadland is a film that holds its faith to everything. People, nature, yourself, etc. And it never fails to break that. It spends so much time in development on literally everything, giving the time of day for even the little things in life. Little things that seem trivial, but you don't realize just how beautiful they truly are. It's a film without questions or judgment to anyone. Instead, it just sits and listens to whoever is speaking. It reminds them why they matter and why what they're doing is valid. Because life is beautiful. More beautiful than you know. The world might present itself as cold and ugly, but life is so fucking beautiful. Look at all this life around you. Isn't it amazing how genuine kindness and peace can be anywhere, whether human or not? Isn't it amazing that someone or something created everything around you? Isn't it amazing how anyone or anything can make you feel important? You can get that feeling anywhere, from conversation, to pure silence, to just a pure stare. And no matter what, you could still feel the pure love and pass it on. That's the beauty of Nomadland. It lives, it absorbs, it listens, it understands. It sees things in your point of view. Chloe Zhao, I believe, made the ultimate tribute to life. And she did that by just letting people talk. Letting people talk about their experience, following them as they live their lives, listening to their philosophies. She lets us experience what Fern and all the other nomads experience, and lets us realize that life is so much more beautiful than you think. It might be fragile, but it never ceases to be beautiful. Because no matter what, there is no final goodbye. There's always, I'll see you down the road.